Okay, so Blood Bowl is many things to many people. You've got the hobby aspect, you've got the RPG story, franchise, character building aspect of League, and then you've got constructed play. And as far as rule sets go, it's a pretty tight rule set. There's some glaringly obvious FAQ issues, but actually, it's probably only about 3% of the rules. So, as far as Games Workshop games go, as far as competitive games go, Blood Bowl is in a pretty good place.
Mhm.
And when it comes to constructed stuff, it's the best way to jam a bunch of games. Don't even think about a tournament as a tournament unless you're playing to really win. Think of it as a game day. And we are hosting something that we're super excited about in 2 months' time on the 7th of May, Saturday, the 7th of May. We are hosting the Dorset Dungeon Bowl down at Entoyment. And this is just, I'm just so excited about it. We're going to gush about it. I'm going to gush about it. But I guess the best thing to preface it is that it is a 3-game, 1-day Dungeon Bowl tournament. We're going to talk through the rules pack. We're going to talk about how it came around. But I'm just going to jump straight in, Ben. I was so excited for Dungeon Bowl to land. And
Mhm.
and then it did. I think we even talked about it in our predictions last year, right? And
Yeah, we did.
I flippantly threw it out there like, oh, I'd love to see Dungeon Bowl come back. And then boom, it landed. The box was marginally lackluster. The rules were fine. But the game itself is something special. And Ben, we managed to get a game in, well, before the release date, I think. And I feel like you quite liked it.
I love it. Like it was a weird game, but I think it embodied everything I wanted it to be, and it kind of there were things that I thought it was going to be, and then didn't think it was going to be, and yeah, but it's just I enjoyed every second of it, and it's kind of like made me want to replace regular Blood Bowl with playing that for a bit because I just find it so themey, so much fun, so goofy.
And you are in luck. So Dungeon Bowl
Yeah.
is Blood Bowl Underground, and I mean, it varies from Blood Bowl in a bunch of different ways. First of all, there's only one touchdown. To get the ball to do the touchdown, you have to run through a dungeon. There's a dungeon. You have to open treasure chests. There are treasure chests. A lot of them are bombs. One of them is the ball, and then using your guile and teleporters. There are also teleporters. You have to get to your opponent's end zone and score the touchdown. And the first one to score one touchdown wins. And you don't even start with all your players on the pitch. You start with 6 and then can bring one on every turn via a teleporter. And the game itself, the mechanics are Blood Bowl, but this is literally such a unique experience when it comes to Blood Bowl. Every game is the same. Every decision is really different, and I think, I don't know about you, Ben, but I like Blood Bowl because generally speaking, you are creating a story, and when it comes to a game of Blood Bowl, there's a lot of stuff that's kind of tropes. Okay, there's a similar trope. It's the 2-turn touchdown score drive. It's the cage up trope. When it comes to Dungeon Bowl, the story is similar, but the map, the positions, the order, where the ball is, the teleporter randomness, it plays out. And every time you play a game of Dungeon Bowl, you come away going, that was weird and different.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, it's just oozing with character, and that's just
So, Dungeon Bowl first came out in 1988, which is amusing because this is episode 88, and I was born in 88.
oh, okay. Wow, okay.
So I know the trifecta of F8s there. And it was different then. They've brought it back. They've got tiles, and we get now, because it is official, because Games Workshop have landed it, because they've brought it back almost to the masses. You can't get the book on its own. You can't get the tiles on its own. And if you buy the box, you're going to end up with some models you probably already have. Like, that was a bit of a letdown. Now, those are things that we absolutely faced into when it came to designing this tournament, right, Ben? Because
Mhm.
those are some genuine, I want to say concerns, but those are factors. The factors were that there are Dungeon Bowl teams, and the Dungeon Bowl teams are mixed teams in a way. It's not a case of choosing 2 teams, it's a case of choosing the college list. Now, we didn't necessarily want just colleges, did we, Ben?
No, I think that having just colleges does restrict people somewhat. We want people to be able to come to this not thinking like, oh, I need to make a college team because they can be quite like prohibitive to make if you're on like a budget and you want like a decent college team. It can run you a fair bit of money having to get like source each of the miniatures from various sources, especially if you don't have access to like a printer. Yeah, so essentially, if you just have a Blood Bowl team and you want to play Dungeon Bowl, this is probably a really good way to do it because you can just bring a regular standard Blood Bowl team
And that
from their
is
dungeon.
that is exactly it. So this event, if you have a Blood Bowl team, you can come and play Dungeon Bowl. And that was something that was really important to us when we are kind of thinking, right, how can we do this? When you play Dungeon Bowl at home, you've got to have a team. Now, if you're playing friendly, you can run just a regular team against another regular team. But if you want to play Dungeon Bowl, if you're thinking and picking up Dungeon Bowl and going, I would like to play Dungeon Bowl, you're thinking, I'm going to need a college team and I'm going to need a dungeon. And yeah, right. Well, we are taking two of those things away. We are providing dungeon maps. We've got two on the day. First and third round will be one map. The second round will be the other side. We've got double-sided dungeons being printed so that we can provide the map. So you don't need a dungeon to be able to play Dungeon Bowl in the Dorset Dungeon Bowl. And then, like you just said, Ben, we did not want everyone to go, I don't want to have a college team because I'm going to need at least an extra box of dudes. And then I'm going to play College of Life because I like the idea of having leap dudes in a dungeon. That's wicked, except I'm going to need Nurgle and Snotlings and Halflings and Wood Elves. And that's 4 teams. And no. You can bring a college team. If you're excited about Dungeon Bowl and being able to mix your teams up and build a new roster, you can. We're allowing college teams, but we're also allowing regular teams. So if you've never played Dungeon Bowl before, you can come and compete. If you've just got X team because that's the only team you like playing and you love running them at tournaments, or you're just starting out and I've got nobility because I started with nobility, bring it. We're good to go, and I think that's such a I don't know, Ben. It's the bit of a like first try is free.
Yeah, essentially, it's a really good opportunity to try Dungeon Bowl, even if you just want to debut it.
And that's kind of what we want this to be. This is not just a championship for Dungeon Bowl. This is a kind of celebration of the game format. Whether you want to win, whether you want to play Dungeon Bowl, whether you just want to play Blood Bowl and do something different, the Dorset Dungeon Bowl is absolutely here for you for that. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk through the rules pack. We're going to just talk about Dungeon Bowl and kind of how it plays and some of the great bits about it. So it is going to be on Saturday the 7th of May at Entoyment, and it's going to be kicking off at 9:45 in the morning. So Entoyment in Poole is my favourite game shop. It's just, I think, probably the best game shop I've been to. Downstairs is just a veritable dragon's cave of stuff that you can buy of all descriptions: board games, toys, historical stuff. It's just wicked. And then upstairs they've got a ton of gaming space. But Ben, the best thing for me about Entoyment is the fact that they've got little QR codes on every table. I love this so much. So you go to a tournament, you go to a game shop, you're like, right, where am I going to eat? Where's there to go? How do I get a drink? They've got a nice cafe area downstairs in Entoyment. They do hot food. You can just be playing a game, go, I'm hungry, or I want a cup of tea. You scan the QR code, and you choose what you want, and then Carl brings it to you, basically. And I just absolutely flipping love that. It's just so good for a tournament.
It is really nice. It's really just, it's a lovely atmosphere. Everyone there is really nice. So yeah, I love it too.
Groovy. So yeah, it is going to be a 3-game day. Registration 9:45. First match at 10:15. 2.25 hours for a match. Now Dungeon Bowl is a weird one, being that there's one touchdown. That's it. Now I prefer to play Dungeon Bowl with 3 balls, but that's not the technical rules, and we wanted this to be as close to the technical rules as possible because it makes it easier for people to adjust to, and I guess makes it a little bit fairer. So 2 hours 15 is what we would normally give for a full 11s match. It can be quicker, it can be longer, but there is going to be a time limit. I mean, Ben, when we played it, I don't think it was 2 hours, was it?
No, it would have been about an hour and a half, and that was learning.
Exactly, it's about an hour and a half, and I think that's probably about right. Now there will be some games that end within 45 minutes. There'll be some games that are going down to the line, and it's also a really important part of Dungeon Bowl. And when we come to the scoring, that's actually a factor. Anyway, tickets are available on our website. They're mostly gone. There's, I think, 7 or 8 left now, which is wicked. And if you're interested in coming, please let us know if the tickets are sold out, because we could probably build a little reserve list. It is Dungeon Bowl. The rules are in the Dungeon Bowl book. There are some special rules to do with Dungeon Bowl. I feel like we've done a video on Dungeon Bowl rules. We've got a couple of playthroughs. If you don't have the Dungeon Bowl book and you're interested in some of the rules, you can let us know, or we can do an extra video, or you can just watch what we've done. But I think the key things there are the treasure chests and the teleporters and how you deploy your guys, Ben. But otherwise, everything's kind of mostly Blood Bowl. The way blocking works, the way everything works. There's one rule that definitely will come up, though, that is a genuine rule, which is jumping over prone players. It's just not a rule you see in standard Blood Bowl very often. But because it's often better to run around than it is to take a 4+5+ leap. But in Dungeon Bowl,
in a corridor,
if you're in a corridor, the best thing you can do is go over their body and fail it, because you will still wake up on the other side, and that's just huge.
and also throwing balls off the wall. That's a pretty key thing.
Yes, I think we do need to do a primer video for this.
I think so. That'd be good.
These
are different things. This is how you can do them.
Yeah. I put a special theory Thursday on, like introduction to Dungeon Bowl, the special rules that kind of, we'll do that. Maybe, but I think we should definitely do that, because watch that video, listen to it, and we'll put it on the podcast feed as well. So if you're driving around, you can catch up and listen to it. Now, there's a bunch of rules in the rule book that we are not going to have to use, which is the setup of the dungeon. We've already built the dungeons. We've already placed the treasure chests. We've already placed the teleporters. Well, technically, the teleporters are placed. The treasure chests are marked, but they will be randomly distributed. You will you will put them out. One of them is going to have the ball. The rest are going to explode in your face, which I think is a turnover, because it knocks you down. So do not do that willy-nilly, I guess, is the thing. So eligible teams. Now, Ben's already touched on this, but the Dorset Dungeon Bowl will be allowing the following rosters: all college teams in the Dungeon Bowl rulebook. So the College of Death is basically necromantic and undead without werewolves. That's the most straightforward team. There's the College of Heavens, which is basically lizard men with some humans. There's Milton's favourite, the College of Metal, which is just anything strength 4, basically. It's Black Orcs.
With Armor 10 all around.
Yeah, that's a gnarly one. There's a College of Beasts, which I'm a big fan of, where you can have 3 big guys to choose between: Minotaur, Rat Ogre, Croxagore, which is an interesting one, or the Bloodspawn. You can have up to 3 of them mixed in however you like. Ben, what's your favourite college at the moment?
I like the College of Light. I was always that really got my attention, because the first thing I heard in Dungeon Bowl was throwing the balls around walls, and this seems like the team to do it, because you get like the elf thrower, you get like the fast dudes. I think you get human catchers and elf blitzers. Yeah, so it's all pretty fast. I think you get an ability lineman too, so you can fend off in the corridor, which sounds pretty handy. Pretty handy dandy too. So yeah,
and I think the College of Fire is one of the strongest. This is tunnel fighting. What do you want in a tunnel? You want dwarves, and you want big guys, and this has got ogres and dwarves mixed in with a little bit of corn. It's cool. It's really cool. Each of the college teams is pretty unique, and it gives you different options. But all standard Blood Bowl teams are also eligible. That's everything in the Blood Bowl rulebook. That's anything that's been released by a Spike magazine, and that's teams from the Teams of Legend PDF as well. So 29 other teams. So we've got 8 college teams, 29 other teams, and we're also, and this is going to be interesting, we're also allowing the Slan roster, which is a NAF only team. There were many, now there's only one, which are Space Frogs. That might be a sneaky great choice because of all the leap, the pogo stick. So but Slan are super expensive, and they are very crunchy, and you can leap and run around, but there's no open space in a dungeon. Not really.
And being pushed against the walls isn't really a great thing in this.
You are gonna get smushed. So building your team, 1 million gold. That's it. We're keeping it We're keeping it low. Okay, we want to give you the Dungeon Bowl experience. So when you're building a college team, you start with 1,000,000, not 1,100 as most tournaments are gone. All teams will be allowed to spend 1,000,000 gold pieces to draft their team. No star players. Star players aren't crazy. Risking death in a dungeon is. So no star players. So you cannot be running hack phlegm in a dungeon. This is going to be standard teams, basically. I mean, I don't know about you, Ben, but if I'm playing with a different rule set or a funny rule set or something that's different, extra complication with star players may not be the right thing anyway.
Yeah, and like you just said with Hack as well, is that you can kind of cheese it with stars. Morg in a tunnel is not really fun for anyone except Morg. So, yeah.
I did kind of want to allow giants though.
But
But
got to crouch.
yeah, but that's incredibly questionable.
Yeah.
So we didn't. So inducements wise, only bribes are allowed, and teams with bribery and corruption do still get them at 50k. So they do get them, but otherwise there are no inducements. Dungeon Bowl teams get rerolls at 50k. Everybody else gets standard stuff as per their team list. So there's going to be nothing fancy when it comes to things like riotous rookies. There will be no Master Chef. It is going to be a bit of a bare bones thing, but actually the challenge here is playing right. Blood Bowl, PvP. Dungeon Bowl, PvPvE. I basically, you're not just playing against the player, you're playing against the terrain element as well, I think is probably a fair description.
Mm-hmm.
And having that extra difficulty, not ideal. That said, we do have wizards. Now, wizards are a massive part of Dungeon Bowl. The whole point of Dungeon Bowl is that it's a competition put together by a collective of mad wizards. And this is why we're keeping the TV so low, is because in addition to the 1,000,000 you get to build your team, every team will have access to a college wizard from the Dungeon Bowl rulebook. If you are a college team, you get that college's wizard. So if you're running College of Fire, you get the College of Fire wizard. If you are not running a college team, if you're running a standard team or slan team, you are allowed to pick a college wizard instead. Now, in the Dungeon Bowl rulebook, there are 8 different wizards. They do different stuff. The Fire Wizard blows stuff up with fire. The Shadow Wizard teleports a dude. The Beast Wizard turns a guy into a beast and just gives him straight up a 3-die block.
Wow,
And,
okay.
yeah, it's really cool. And I'm so excited at the prospect of somebody being like, right, you know what? I'm going to take Underworld and we're going to use the College of X because I think I've got this cool combo. I've got this cool play where I can use the College of Shadow to bamf one of my gutter runners to the other side and do a clever play. It's just quite cool. So it is kind of 1150, but you have to spend that money on a wizard. But as far as it goes, 1,000,000 build, you get a free wizard. Now, there is a slight advantage to college teams. Now, we did this with the Bonehead Bowl. Historically, mixed teams always had a little bit of an advantage to kind of incentivize it. Now, college teams are incentivized ever so slightly. Now, it makes sense that a college team is a little bit better at playing in a dungeon because that's what they do. So to compensate for the flexibility of choosing a college wizard and to represent the experience of playing in a dungeon, all college teams will receive 1 free team reroll at the start of each match. This does not need to be rostered. So basically that means, you know, the College of Fire only gets the Fire Wizard. If you're running Ogres, you're running Skaven, you're running Wood Elves, you just get to choose. So to compensate from that, the college team gets an extra reroll, and their rerolls are 50k. So you get,
do bear that in mind if you're making a roster. You think, oh, I really need my 3rd reroll.
You're going to get free rolled one if you're running a college team. Everybody else, though, you get to choose a wizard instead. So it's interesting. There's an element of roster building in there, and as the rosters carry on, the best bit about a roster is you get to add skills. Now, there are no tiers in Dungeon Bowl. There will be tiers of players, but there are no tiering systems that are really applicable when it comes to Dungeon Bowl. So everybody gets 0 to 4 primary skills and 0 to 1 secondary skill to put on their players. No player can receive more than 1 skill. A primary skill may be selected instead of the secondary if you just want 5 primary, basically. And skills may be chosen from both the Blood Bowl rulebook or the Dungeon Bowl rulebook, because the Dungeon Bowl rulebook features some skills that are particularly useful in a dungeon. So check them out. Oh, I've got a bit of a typo there. It literally says the Dungeon Bowl rulebook features some skills particularly useful. Well, I guess that are particularly useful would have been better English. Anyway, efficient. Clearly, I ran out of space, and I was like, "No, let's just take out half the sentence."
I didn't even catch on to that. It took me a while to read, so sure,
Yeah,
it's fine.
5 skills, 1 million build, a wizard, and 5 skills. 36, 37 teams to choose from. And within that, there's a combo of wizard for most of those teams. So there's plenty of flexibility. Ben, you're likely to be TOing.
Mm.
What would your choice be if you were playing?
So I do like the light, but the first thing we're going to be painting up is fire. For something we'll talk about, or just after this segment.
Foreshadowing.
And yeah, so I'd probably choose fire. And normally, and that's a team which is quite like dwarf heavy. You know, you've got block and stuff like that. Normally, dwarves will take like guard. However, I don't think that's useful in Dungeon Bowl because your guys move around on their own so much more. Corridors are narrow. Guard doesn't help too much. I think you start seeing more skills like armbar. Honestly, that's probably not that bad
Oh
in the
wow.
context of Dungeon Bowl.
Yeah,
Is
they're
it?
going to be dodging. They're going to be failing the
Yeah,
dodges. They get
dodging
you
around you in a corridor
dodging past you is going to be key. And you and I saw
with
this when we
tackle.
played, wasn't it? It's a case
Yeah.
of I'm willing to just bomb this Skaven into the ground if it ends up on the other side of you.
Hmm.
Well, armbar gives the ground a mighty blow. So yeah, that's
Yeah, so I might be intrigued at trying something like that. Bit of frenzy to get like an extra troll slayer, because like we mentioned before, walls are really dangerous. So if you can get just, I think is it a push is an armor roll? A push into a wall is an armor roll.
no
Um,
push into a
oh,
wall. You then roll another dice on a 4+. It causes an
that's it.
armor roll. Yeah, but
I mean,
still,
if you got frenzy, you got 2 4-ups to
yeah.
have a go at a free block, basically. So
And that's
yeah.
why I'm excited about the College of Beasts, because you get Bloodspawn and Minotaurs and Rat Ogres. So you get that high strength Mighty Blow and, or Claw Frenzy.
Hmm.
If you can pull off a 2 or 3 die block, that's going to get doubled. You're going to have twice the opportunity. And you start with only, 6 players on the pitch. So,
Yeah.
if you can start removing them straight away, you can get quite a significant numeric advantage, quite soon. And that's, again, very exciting when it comes to Dungeon Ball, because you don't know when the ball's going to get found.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's really interesting. Roster's due date Saturday the 30th of April. That gives us a week to just make sure everything's all right, because the rule set is a little bit different. It gives us that opportunity to just double check everything out, and because it's going to be 40 people, not 70, we're going to print out a roster. We can provide you with a roster to make sure it's right. Now, the scoring. This is something different, but this has been inspired by some of the Dungeon Bowl tournaments that happened in the before times. So how Dungeon Bowl tournaments used to kind of work is they would have time limits, and at certain time limits the treasure chests would reveal what was inside them to kind of speed the game up. That's no fun. Okay, so when it comes to tournament scoring here, we are giving you extra points if the game finishes within an hour. Now, it is not likely to. Okay, but as there is a 1 or 0 outcome, well, actually 1-0, you win, lose, or draw, but it's only winning by 1 touchdown max. We needed that extra element of tiebreaker points. So if you score a fast win, if you get through that dungeon, grab the ball, and score a touchdown within an hour, you get 40 points. A standard win, 30 points. A draw, 20 points. A slow loss, so a normal loss, 10 points, and a fast loss is 0 points. So if you need to hold out, you need to battle on there. And this is going to be, I'm hoping, causing coaches to try and finish the game as soon as they can.
I think so. Yeah.
Because one thing that can happen in DB is you can tend to turtle. And actually, if you've got the opportunity here of winning quickly, you will score more points. And that's kind of more fun for everybody. And also it incentivizes you to, try and win. There's a couple of tiebreakers as ever at our tournaments. You get casualties, up to 3 per match. We're giving 3 casualty points, 3 bonus points for each casualty, up to 3 every game. Now, this is all casualties caused to your opponent's team during your turn count. This includes blocking, fouling, secret weapons, being hit by thrown players, being pushed into a teleporter, and being lost in space. Yes, that is a rule, and I'm so happy that that is a rule. This includes melting someone with a College of Fire wizard. If you casualty an opponent's player during your turn, you get 3 points. That just, yeah, do it. Chainsaw, everything, bomb. Just get them gone. Get those 3 points 3 times. And then the next one, we've found, Ben, when we're playing our Dungeon Bowl games, that once the ball is found, the other treasure chests don't really do anything. They are there just
Yeah.
to, I don't know, be run around. When you open a treasure chest, it will cause a turnover. You will have an armor roll made against your dude. So naturally, we're going to encourage you doing that. And every treasure chest you open during the game, whether it's got the ball in it or whether it just explodes, you will get one extra bonus point. So once the ball is found, if you've got some players that aren't doing anything, if you've got some Noblars on the College of Fire team, you've got some Snotlings on the College of Life team, you can wander them around a dungeon and use them to get those explore bonus points. Just opening those treasure chests, blowing up, hopefully not dying, maybe taking out some opponents' pieces as well, but it makes those other treasure chests valid, like actually active in the game, which I think was quite important.
Yeah, I think it puts a bit more risk in there, but makes it a bit more exciting. And we've seen just these like little odd points really do way up. In the last tournament we ran, it was won by, 1 or 2 points that were gained from these little extra points. So they're nice to have.
It is pretty good. So prizes and awards, we've got the overall champion. There is the stunty champion. So stunty teams will be considered the standard tier 3 teams. There are no tiering teams, but tier 3 standard teams, so halflings, ogres, snotlings and goblins, and college teams containing only stunty and strength 5 players are eligible. So there are a couple of college teams in there that you can brew up that are eligible for the stunty championship. I recommend against running them. But technically you can run a college of life team and have mixtures of halflings and snotlings and technically like a couple of beasts of Nurgle. There's some stuff you can do that technically counts as stunty, and just there's always one. It's probably Gary, but there's someone who will build a roster that is just very unique. I'm hoping that someone runs that out, but I don't know.
Could you run a full ogre team as a College of Fire?
You only get 3 ogres.
I cannot quite make up the point. Yeah,
No.
you have to get a billion snotlings.
Yeah, it'd be Noblars and ogres and rerolls.
Yeah.
Yes, bit of a shame. I mean, not for everybody else, but well, I mean, at that point, Ben, you just run a ogre team.
Yeah,
which
you
is
get one of those rerolls for free.
Well, I know you've got to save the cash for the rerolls. We're also doing best team. We're doing a participation trophy and the Explorer Cup. So over the course of the day, the player who opens the most treasure chests will be declared the Explorer Cup champion. And I'm hoping that there's a kind of like a little side gig where someone is like, nope, my goal here is to win the Explorer Cup. I'm going to open up like 5-6 treasure chests every game and just go to town. There's most casualties, chocolate armor award, and there is always a dirty player award. I always forget to put it in the rule book. There is always a dirty player award because it's just Blood Bowl, isn't it? And what to bring? Please bring a team that is clearly marked, identifiable. Teams do not have to be painted, but we think the game looks better if they are. Please bring your dice and your throw-in templates. We're bringing the dungeons, so don't worry about that. It is a NAF sanctioned tournament. It's already been sanctioned. We are good to go. Best team at the start of round 1, everyone gets a nomination slip. We'll remind everyone to leave their teams out over the lunch break so that you can have a look. What is best team? It's up to you, whether it's theme, painting, conversion, whatever one you think, just like, wow, that coach did a great job. That's your Huckleberry. And there are a couple of FAQs that people have already started asking, and this is the cool thing about this. And when we get closer to it, people are going to start really thinking about it, and this is where the FAQ thing is going to be really handy. The 2 questions we've asked so far is, does swarming work in Dungeon Bowl? No. Sadly, players can only enter the dungeon via the teleporter, and wizards love proper order, so no sneaking on, extra players. And the next one, Snotling linemen in Blood Bowl. Rosters have the Titchy skill, but it's not present on the Dungeon Bowl skill. Which profile is to be used? To keep things simple, a Snotling is a Snotling is a Snotling. So the Snotlings in Dungeon Bowl will also have Titchy, because Snotlings everywhere have Titchy that aren't stunty only. So standard Snotlings will be standard Snotlings, whether they are on a Snotling team or the College of Life team. We're assuming that's just a typo anyway, but it makes no sense for the Snotling players to be fine, for the Noblars to be fine, whether the Noblar is on an Ogre team or on the College of Fire team, they're the same. It just seems weird that the College of Life Snotlings have got, like, I don't know, like little flags on that mean that you can see them better. Very strange. So we're going to ignore that. And also, Titchy is a big deal in dungeons.
Yeah, huge. Yeah, don't underestimate these little strength one dudes. They are vital for slipping past and like just corridors of dwarves. You need them.
But I was thinking from the other point of view as well, Ben, because Titchy, you don't get the negative modifier to dodge through to dodge into a Titchy zone. So
That is
actually,
true.
those snotlings not having Titchy and the College of Life means that you can just gum up corridors with snotlings that make it as difficult for your opponent to dodge as like
That's
Chaos
a
Warriors.
really good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is why snotlings are snotlings, because they're snotlings. So they're snotlings. Anyway, I feel like that's been pretty well described. What we're going to do now is we're going to have a quick look at both the dungeon layouts, because we've got them. We've done, I think, quite cool graphics for them. They're not as cool as I'd like them to be, but I think they're a good start. And there are two maps, and we're going to have these printed out on reversible posters so that actually you can just roll out a dungeon, play. Then game 2, you roll it over. You're good to go. You don't have to do any setup. Now, on these maps, there are 6 teleporters. The teleporters are numbered, and there are also places lined out for the treasure chests. We will have treasure chest tokens available for every pitch. I've got 2 options for them at the moment. I'm not sure which one's going to be the right way to do it. It'll either be a clever use of poker chips or cardboard, actual board game chips. It depends which is going to be better for them to make for us. But the teleporters are already on the map, so you don't have to deploy the teleporters. You will take the 6 treasure chest tokens, you will mix them up. Or, if you don't feel comfortable doing that, we can come around and mix them up and set them up on your pitch for you. Doesn't matter to me, doesn't matter, I think, probably to Ben, if whatever you're happiest with.
Yeah, yeah.
The treasure chest with the ball and the bomb ones are going to look the same, so you will not know. Now, in both of these maps, they are symmetrical in the way that the teleporters are placed, in the way that the treasure chests are placed. So it doesn't matter which side of the pitch you're starting on, it doesn't matter which table you're starting on, you will have the same dungeon as everybody else every round, and your side of the dungeon will be exactly the same as the opponent's side of the dungeon. So the roll to see who goes first is going to be very important, because it always is in a game of Blood Bowl. But when it comes to Dungeon Bowl, your path movement is going to be the same as theirs and the same on every table. And I don't know, this was weird for me, Ben. But in a way of like trying to make it as competitively fair as possible, I kind of felt this was the right thing to do.
I think you're right. I like it's you can be more creative playing Dungeon Bowl like with your friends and stuff. Like, but I think in a tournament setting, it doesn't make a lot of sense to have standardized.
Yeah, the like some Dungeon Bowl tournaments that were running the before times, they had standard like map layouts as well, which I think just makes a lot of sense. Now, having them printed is going to save a ton of time. Like, I love
Yes.
like building a dungeon together is great fun, but it takes like half an hour, and it would mean that we would have also to provide a set
Yeah.
of Dungeon Bowl tiles for every table. You cannot buy them separately, so that would work out to be £1,800.
It's a little bit more than the budget.
Yeah, that would
Mm.
mean that it would be for 40 players, which, plus table hire, it would be £50 a ticket,
At which point you may
which
share a
is
Dungeon Bowl box between 2 people.
that's exactly
Yeah,
what it is.
it's
No,
yeah.
this way it's £12 a ticket, because we're getting them printed, and it takes the amount of time it takes for you to turn the map over to change the map. Now, we've got 2 different maps. Map A is for game 1, and then again on game 3. So you're going to play a first dungeon, you're going to play your second dungeon, then you're going to play in that first dungeon again in the last round. So you will have learnt lessons, probably, from the first round. Pay attention, because when you go back to that dungeon at the end of the day, you're going to have already experienced those halls, that tunnel, and that layout. Now, you start with 6 guys in your end zone, and immediately 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 squares, there's a teleporter. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 squares, there's a teleporter. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 squares. So every team, you will start off with 6, 7, and 8. Average movement speed in Blood Bowl is 6. So every team, College of Fire, runners, every team will be able to suicide jump a dude into a teleporter on turn 1. Whether it's recommended, I don't think so. But you can do it. And that, I think, was a really important part of the design for this first map, because you're playing on it twice and someone there is going to be like, I'm going to jump my dude into a teleporter. What it does mean is you don't get to chuck slow moving big guys or free little nobler dudes in there, which I think is quite important. And it also rewards, so Ben, if you're thinking about running a College of Light where you've got movement 8 catchers and movement 7 elves or whatever, well, you can make 2 or 3 of those teleporters without a single rush in that first turn. So you, in your first turn, can go through these teleporters and potentially start putting dudes on your opponent's half of the pitch immediately, creating zones to stop that, so they have to blitz past you to get there. That means that from turn 1, you will be making Dungeon Bowl decisions. And that is exactly what we want. We want you to be like, oh, do I just send him through a teleporter? Because if I roll the same number, he's going to disappear. If you want to know how that feels, go watch our game. oh, Skaven.
Oh, there's a teleporter too.
Oh, teleport 2. Don't go in teleporter 2. So there is a slight disadvantage to people jumping in this one here, because it's not good luck. Anyway, there's also in this map, and I really love map A, because you've got the Great Hall straight down the middle. Okay. Now there are doors, so only these 2 center squares are walk throughable. You can go diagonally, like it's fine, but immediately you've got to think about the fact that your opponent can just run straight across and into your end zone by going straight up the pitch. Now the ball, nowhere near that, right? So they're going to have to filter out to try and find the ball to then bounce through. So you've immediately got this. I've got 3 channels to defend. There's the big one down the middle, and there's both the sides. The sides are where the ball is. The big middle is the fastest, which means if you are a trundly, chunky team, so College of Fire, College of Metal, you can just Western swagger your way up the middle of the pitch if you want to. And I think we're going to see some really cool stuff from that.
Yeah, for sure. That's intimidating. I'm looking forward to seeing how the different colleges and different teams navigate through that, for sure. If some teams will completely ignore it.
Yeah, they're just going to completely leave the middle open. Now, that's map A. Map B, instead of having 3 avenues, basically has 4 avenues. So these
I think, was this the map we played on the...
This was. And the other map, I think, was the map I played against with Rick.
Yeah.
Yeah, and these 2 maps are going to be the maps that we use most frequently when it comes to the next Bonehead Championship Series, because this is kind of like competitive constructed Dungeon Bowl, which is just a weird...
Bit of an oxymoron.
It is an oxymoron. Yeah, cognitive dissonance in a show is what we're going for. So map B, you've got 4 corridors. You've got 3 attached to your end zone, which is super important in Dungeon Bowl. What we don't want is 1 avenue, because then you can just turtle up in that 1 corridor. Yeah. That's no fun. Okay, you've got 3 avenues in both maps. So important, because you do not have that many players, so hopefully that will force you to spread out. You can still go full gatekeeper, start your initial deployment drop of 6 dudes and just turtle up immediately, and then bring on your other guys one at a time. You can do that, but your opponent's going to have much more flexibility to get hold of the ball before you.
I remember those chests are worth a point each, so you're essentially giving them 6 points, right?
Yeah.
So
it's a really interesting one. So map B, you've got straight up from both your end zones. You will run straight down a corridor, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 squares away. 9 squares away is a treasure chest, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares away is a treasure chest as well. So you will be opening a treasure chest immediately on your first turn with most builds. Also, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares away is a teleporter. Now this one's a bit of a smaller map. It's a bit closer, but there's 4 different combat zones. and this feels more like kill team. You're kind of like planning out your strategy. Which corridors am I going to give up? How am I going to defend? And this is the one we played on, Ben, and you're right. And this inspired the Explorer Cup extra points, because if you open the treasure chest up on the right hand side, then the action is down the right hand side and that middle corridor, and then the left hand side of the map completely ignored. Well, if you can just take a Noblar and just wander around there and scoop up some extra points and go for the Explorer Cup while defending your center and right wing, you're good to go. And I think that's quite interesting. But the two different maps are going to have two different opening plays, two different strategies, and the mix of team you're playing against will be massively different. I am just so excited. It's outrageous.
Yeah, this is really fun, and this is what embodied the love for Dungeon Bowl. I think was just it just has so many avenues. It becomes a real strategic puzzle. The random elements in this work really well, because sometimes random elements in games can be frustrating, but I think in this, I mean, yeah, it can still be frustrating, teleporter too, but I just think it encourages you to just completely break out of your Blood Bowl comfort zone and play something completely different with the rule set and knowledge that you already have. Like, it's not like learning a whole new game, it's just applying your skills in a very different way, and I think that's really, really fun.
I think we're going to have when it comes to Blood Bowl, we often see, Ben, like, a third of the games are draws. I think we might see a little bit more than a third of the game in Dungeon Bowl be a draw. And that means that those extra points are going to be really important for you.
Massively.
Because, you open 4 treasure chests, your opponent opens none. You kind of win that game. Not from a points point of view, but you get more points than they do. So it's going to be a really interesting mix-up. I'm very excited to see how they play out. That's it. That's the Dungeon Bowl tournament. This is what we're going to be playing against. We've got maps. Oh my god, this is StarCraft coverage. Oh, we've got this map. They're playing TVC.
You mentioned this so long ago. That's why I was just like, why did you say this? You have said this before when we've had like a chat. I don't know if it was on the podcast or if it was just a chat we've had before. Be like, I really want that dream where you can have like maps and you can be like, this is the layout. They're taking this team. This is the strategy they normally go for. We're expecting them to go up the east flank here. This is it.
Dungeon Bowl has provided it. This is amazing.
Yeah.
And hopefully everything is starting to line up, and I really want us to do coverage. We still got to do some trials, we still got to do some tests, but we know the cameras work, we know the setup works.
Currently we're struggling with Discord calls, so we've got a little bit of a way to go, I think, on the tech.
This is why I find it outrageous, okay? Because we filmed all of that, no problems at all. I spend my entire day running monster spreadsheets and using OBS as a virtual cam and through Google Meets, no problems at all. I run Discord and go in a video chat with Ben. My computer turns itself off. I don't get it, but it does give me an excuse to soup up the PC. So I think I might need to go shopping just to make sure that we can do this, because it would be sweet to be able to provide coverage. Yeah. Anyway, BT, I think that basically wraps up what we've got to talk about for Dorset Dungeon Bowl. Anything to add?
No, not at all. I'm just really excited, and I hope to see a lot of people there.
Oh yeah. Well, I think we've got over 2 months to go, and there's like 7 or 8 tickets left. I think we should see a full house, which is awesome. Anyway, we're going to take a quick break and be right back. How you doing, dude? Thanks very much for watching. We really appreciate your support. If you want to help support the channel even further, please like and subscribe, or come join us on our Patreon. We have early access to content. We get loads of feedback from you guys, and we try and do competitions as much as we can. Or you can get yourself some Bonehead podcast merch on our Spreadshirt site. So if you want to support a team, especially for the Bonehead Championship, you can pick up a shirt, a mug, things like that. It all helps support the channel, and we really appreciate it. Anyway, links below. Thank you very much. Happy blocking.